Mr. Patrick Molzahn. How are you?
Doing good. How are you, Dom?
I'm good. I'm glad to have you back on the show.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to be with our kindred spirits here in the cabinet making world, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but you've been busy since we talked last.
Well, I have. I managed to get a new version of my book produced.
Yeah,
I'm actually in relaxation mode now. I've kind of ticked all the boxes I wanted to tick in my 5-year plan, and
that's good.
life's good. I got no complaints.
Yeah. Well, now, Patrick, I know the book you're talking about, and
Yep.
you know the book that you're talking about, but some people might not know the book you're
Sure.
talking about. So the question, and everybody laughs because they know I ask this question all the time. Patrick Molzahn, who the heck are you? And how is it
Sure.
that you come to be speaking to this worldwide group of forward-facing business owners of cabinet shops, furniture shops, architecture millwork shops?
Sure. Well, I'll give you a little background, but first of all, thank you for all you do to spread the word and get people looking to the future and possibilities. But I've been involved in this industry for going on 30 years. I actually started out as an architect, trained as an architect, worked in the industry for a few years, went out, started my own shop because I love to build.
Okay.
And I had a small shop, and the writing was on the wall that I was going to be the president and janitor for the next 30, 40 years if I didn't expand. And I didn't
Yeah.
want to expand. And the
Okay.
opportunity came up to teach. And I really loved teaching. Spent some time overseas teaching English, of all things.
Oh, wow.
And I missed that. And so, I got into it at the technical college level here in Madison, Wisconsin. And I've been in charge of the cabinet making and millwork program since 2000. So 21 years plus
Yeah.
of teaching experience under my belt. It's been an incredible journey. I've had the opportunity to travel all over the world. We've got good relationships with schools in Germany and other areas in Europe. I've been able to travel multiple times to get to know
okay.
how they're training their woodworkers. Of course, in Japan, we spent 2.5 years. And everywhere I go, I've been over 30 countries. I'm always looking for woodworkers and how they're training and shops.
They're everywhere.
So-
People don't realize woodworkers are everywhere.
Yes, and it's a universal thing, right? Who doesn't
Yeah.
like somebody that's interested in poking their head in their shop and talking about, woodworking? So,
Yeah.
so it's been a great journey. Along the way, about 10 years ago, a publisher contacted me about revising a textbook. The book is Modern Cabinetmaking. It was originally written in 1990. It's the last good book to remain published. All the other ones have been gone out of print.
Right.
But thankfully, this publisher has been around and stays behind the text. And so in 2016, we produced the 5th edition of Modern Cabinet Making. And then I'm proud to say that, and I'll hold it up to show people.
Oh,
but,
good. There you go. You've got a copy. Hold it at a
the,
different angle because there's a bit of a shine on
sorry
it.
about the
There
light.
you go.
Yep, there we go.
Perfect.
The 6th edition of Modern Cabinet Making. And it's 1,000 pages crammed with everything you'd want to know about wood manufacturing, woodworking, cabinet making.
Now,
So
I understand, Patrick, though, that you had a pretty specific requirement with the publisher that the book was different this time, a little more
Yes.
modern, a little more focused on the future and the future students, because teaching is your passion. What was
Yeah.
that little addition you said, I think we need to have this, and they bought into it?
So originally they approached me 10 years ago and they asked me to revise this. And I said, no, I wasn't interested, that the future was electronic. And I wanted a ebook that was embedded with videos and we could do all these things with it. And they said, we're not ready to do that. And so I did accept the 5th edition. And that was a labor of love because there were over 700 black and white photos in that book. It was just way out of date, last revised in 2005. And so that was my big work for the 5th edition. So when the 6th edition came along, I said, I'll do it, but
Yeah.
we now have the technology. I've been doing videos since 2004. There's no reason why we can't, embed some videos or get some videos linked in this.
Right. Some URLs.
So, yep.
Yeah.
So in this edition, you can buy the electronic edition and a digital edition, I should say is the correct term. There are 46 videos. So
good for you.
How to see it in action, how this machine works in action. And then I interviewed 6 people in the industry to get their take on their careers.
Ah,
So this was kind of the mix I was looking for. And I would like to see it added to, more videos added to it, but it
yeah.
was a great step forward.
Yeah, so congratulations on writing the book because it's a big deal. Like writing a book is a big deal. I'm sure your parents are very proud. See you
Yeah,
later. I know you've done before, but it's nice to
yeah.
see. But who is that book written for? When you sat down to write, who were you talking to? Who were you thinking about?
So it is a textbook. So obviously it's educator schools, students in schools, but it's also used in industry.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
There's kind of a lack of text resources. There's a lot of video resources. You go to YouTube, but the problem is, there's a lot of good stuff and
There's
there's
a lot of
junk.
opinions on YouTube, not a lot of.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And so this book is been endorsed by industry.
Oh,
The Woodwork Career Alliance uses it and recommends it for their members.
and aren't you? What do you do with the Woodwork Career Alliance, by the way?
So I was a founding board member for the
Hmm.
WCA. I was so the WCA is the first step is they assembled a set of standards. We all talk about what is quality, and the Architectural Woodwork Institute has done a great job defining that. But what are the expectations for a bench level carpenter?
Sure.
A woodworker. What should they do? And so the WCA has done great things in defining what the expectations are when you operate machinery. They
Okay.
then created a credentialing program to kind of reward or recognize individuals. And so that was a big part of their mission. And then the third part is the education. How do we train people?
Oh, yeah.
How do so you learn the trade. We've largely, in this country, we've largely lost the apprenticeship.
Right.
You have the Red Seal program in Canada, which is a great program. The WCA has kind of taken up that initiative here in the States.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I have been involved in the WCA for many years. I stepped off the board last year.
Well, you were
Primarily to
busy writing the
concentrate.
book. You had too much on your plate.
I did. I realized after many years of kind of burning the candle at both ends that,
It's
you
too
can only
much.
do so much. And I wanted to focus on the book. But it's a great organization, particularly for companies. Companies can join for $250 a year and access resources. And what I have done is I have given the WCA a lot of my curriculum. And so it's the roadmap, the resources. So, hey, what you want to learn the table saw, you want to learn X machine, what pages to read and links to videos and, basically a self-training format, which is how I run my program at the college. It's set up. There's specific objectives and timeframes, but it's a step-by-step process to learn that skill.
So let me ask this because I just know myself. So I'll speak from my own perspective. But if I'm running a company, I'm very busy.
Yep.
Sometimes I'm short on patience because I'm short on time. And
Okay.
so is this a tool I could say, look, you want to learn how to use a skill saw, you want to learn how to use a bandsaw, you want to learn how to use an edger, go watch the video, and tell me you've watched it. Like we'll talk about it after, but then I could put everybody through a consistent process, an SOP.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
good. Because
So, I have,
it's all me, Patrick. I'm short on time. I'm stressed. I'm the only
Oh.
one. I'm the only one. Nobody else is like that.
Well, I mean, I've been hired by companies to set up training programs, and I've seen them spend thousands of dollars doing it. And I've seen them also try to create their own. And, it's like, I've been as an educator for over 20 years developing materials. Why reinvent the wheel? So I have ready-made resources. And it's not as simple as just go watch the video. Like you said, prove to me. So what is the outcome, right? So at the end of every module, there's a skill task. Okay, you need to be able to build this, do this to this competency, and there's a evaluation rubric. So it really is a ready-made training program.
Yeah, I'm so glad. I mean, you brought up a couple of very important things just there. First of all, why reinvent the wheel? If I need to train my people on something, just a second ago, we kind of knocked YouTube because there's a lot of opinions and stuff there, but there's really good resources there as well. And one of my favorites is how to coil a hose or a rope or a cable.
Yep.
Well, look, most people coming into the workforce don't know that. They never had to do that, or their parents didn't care about it. But in my shop, I would care about it. So go watch this video. It's going to show you, and I might get a sailor showing how to coil a rope, or I might get a painter showing how to coil a hose. It doesn't matter, but choose a video I like and say, that's the video that sets the standard for our company. And away we go. And there's lots of them. You can get firemen on how to put a ladder against a house. You can get installers talking about, how to put a proper French cleat in, whatever it is. If that's a standard you're happy with, use that for everybody.
Exactly.
I might have overstepped with the French cleats because that might be something you talk about, but you know what I mean? There are standards out there that I don't have to reinvent.
Right. The danger with YouTube is it's kind of a black hole. So if you just send somebody to YouTube and go say, Google this and figure this out, 2 hours later, they'll come back. No, I didn't find it, but I watched a bunch of other stuff.
But if I say this is the video, that is the standard with the link. And
Yep. That's what you need to do. Yeah. And the beauty of video, and that's why I got involved early on in 2004, when the technology, we were struggling with the technology, computers and everything. It's so much easier now. Now you just pull your phone out and you can make a 30-second video and explain something really, really well and quickly. So the challenge with technology is it takes some time to produce it, and to do it well.
Quality.
Quality. Exactly. And so that's what I'm most proud of in the book is, we got to spend some time, making some nice videos. I work with producers from the publisher, and we have some nice content.
That's great. That's great. Is there anything new in this book that, that you revised a lot?
Yes. I'm glad you asked that.
Oh, gee. Yeah. Your face completely changed on that. Okay. What do you got?
Well, yeah, I wasn't thinking about that, but two things. I really wanted a chapter on lean. And unfortunately, they weren't willing to do a full chapter. But I did get a nice section on lean.
Okay.
So I'm very big on lean and integrating lean into education and believe in it for manufacturing. So I'm happy about that section. But the newest thing is installation.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's a new chapter on installation.
See, I didn't mean to step on your toes when I talked about the French cleat, but okay. So you have an installation chapter.
Yep.
So I have two questions for you. First, not everybody knows what lean is. So would you mind defining it in your words as an educator? What's lean and lean manufacturing? How does that fit in a cabinet shop?
2 words: remove waste. Okay.
Right. Wasted.
So inefficiencies, when I look at education, it's how can we get to the end result, communicating an idea so that the learner understands it in as quick as possible, but thorough to it, right? In manufacturing, it's eliminating, there's lots of different sources of waste, from motion to overproduction, a lot of lean principles, but I would say lean comes down to removing waste and still ending up with a good product.
Because the customer, the client, only pays for the product. Exactly. They don't pay for the waste.
They don't care. Yeah, they don't care how long it took you to make it or how many steps you had to take
But the waste still gets paid for. It gets paid for by the owner of the company.
Exactly.
We just reviewed a video actually just yesterday with Rick Tack. Rick runs the foreman training that we do. And so we reviewed a video that somebody had given us and it showed something interesting. We took just a security cam video of somebody building, it was a pallet for shipping at the loading dock, which granted is not something they build all the time. But what became apparent is the guys that were building this pallet did not have a knife, did not have a pen, or did not have a pencil, or a tape measure. And so guess what they kept doing? Running around like it looked like Keystone Cops. When you have it on silent, because it's just a security video, you see your guy walking back and forth and borrowing a pencil from somebody and borrowing a tape measure. And instead of, obviously a cart would make this easier. But Rick brought up a great point, which is every step is $1, maybe even $1.50. Yeah. And so every step that person takes is not lean. That's a waste. And you could overcome it with an apron or just saying, you have to have a pocket, I hate to say a pocket protector, but you have to carry it. Figure out how to carry it. Your job is to carry it.
Yeah. I tell my students one of the most important tools you have is your shop apron.
There you go.
Everything there. And I'll say I look like the nerd when I walk around. I mean, I've got, my large Sharpie marker, my fine Sharpie marker, my red pen, because I'm a teacher, my black pen, my highlighter, they're all in my pocket, but they are tools that I use to communicate clearly and concisely.
Plus, I should note that with all those Sharpies, you're available for signatures on the book. You can audio. Is that what you were going to say?
Always available.
Always available. Yeah. But you know what? The shop apron is a thing. Having a cart is a thing. And that's what lean is. Thank you for explaining it. Lean's just about removing wasted time, wasted efforts. just wasted conversation about nothing that's going to add value to the end product. Sometimes people think that you just want the guys in the shop, the people in the shop to work harder. That's not lean. Lean's actually about working
work smarter.
less.
Right? That's what I tell my students. It's not about working harder, especially as you get older. You got to learn to work smarter.
No, a bunch of old. That's why old guys like lean. And then the second thing was the installer section.
Yes.
What made you guys decide to put that in?
Well, that's a passion of mine. Again, I said, I was trained as an architect. I ran my own business. I did a lot of architectural woodwork, installations myself, stairwork cabinetry. And so I wanted to integrate that into the book. And I really see that as part of the future of our trade. We've got a large division in this country in particular between rough carpenters and finish carpenters. And we don't really do a good job training them. There are not many avenues for finish carpentry. And, many of my students go into that trade. And so I wanted to address that in the book.
Yeah, it's interesting that a lot of shops don't recognize that having a cabinet shop where everybody drives to work, they get out of their vehicle, they go into the shop and they build, is a different business model than the installer who leaves the shop, loads a van with tools and materials, and goes and installs it on premise.
True.
There's a lot of differences there. And so in a lot of ways, installation gets forgotten about. And in other ways, we have to recognize there's entire companies out there that just do installations, and they're doing just fine. Thank you. Because they've recognized, we don't build. You send us the boxes, we'll put them up. We'll arrange them. You send us a courthouse, we'll install it. You send us, a casino lobby, we'll make sure it's beautiful, but we're not building it. And it's interesting to see how different companies take that approach or take that mindset shift to understand it's a different thing. The finished carpentry on site is different than being a cabinet maker, a bench person.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I wish you could get cabinet makers out in the field to experience that. And I wish you could get installers in the shop so that, they're working together or they're thinking, ahead. I mean, I ran a small business. I did both, right? I installed what I built. And so I planned ahead when I was building to make that installation go better and to have the product look better. And unfortunately, that disconnect often leads to, big issues that could be avoided if there was some understanding, ahead of time of what it's like, what field conditions are like, how do you design accordingly? And,
I was going to say,
how do you prepare that cabinetry so that it's not damaged in transport? So when it gets to install, because I see a lot of waste there, that happens. Things are damaged in the field, and it's a little bit more forethought would have saved a lot of money.
Yeah. There's so many things that happen there. I mean, when was the first time you realized, this isn't going to fit in the elevator as you're
many stories on that. Yes.
We have to cut what, but the waste after it leaves the shop door should be controllable if we take the time to think about it, follow the product all the way through, and just look at what your go backs are, your punch list, whatever, however you refer to it in your business.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. How do you deal with that last minute waste as a teacher when you're educating your students? And I've met some of your students, by the way. I took a cab ride, believe it or not, with one of them.
Yes.
From a conference in New Orleans.
I heard that
small
story.
World. It is. World. But how do you deal with that waste conversation? We're right at the end of the whole process of building this piece of, just say, casework. And something happens. How do you deal with that as an educator?
That is part of our everyday discussions. I'm always trying to bring lean concepts into the classroom. And so, we take specific examples. Oh, this happened. How could it have been avoided? Why did it happen? And what can we do next time to avoid it? So those are great learning lessons, and it's every day I've got something. I mean, I'm kind of a lean guru in terms of, always looking to make improvements. And so
you'd have to be as a teacher. I have a question that I hadn't thought I was going to ask you, but I'm going to. So no, but I'm going to put myself in the shoes of somebody listening now who's running a shop.
Sure.
Who is trying to give feedback to one of their people. And the person they're giving it to takes it wrong. They take it personally. They get mad. And you know what the labor market is like right now? We have to treat everybody with kid gloves or they might quit because I told them they had to actually do, follow a standard. And so, and I'm thinking about that person who's listening to us now going, I'd love to be able to talk quality with my team, but if I tell them, their nose is going to be bent out of joint. How do you do that as a teacher?
I'll give you, I think, a great example of where I succeeded in doing that at one point. I was hired to take a company through shaper training. And so we brought them into the college. And prior to the training, I went to their facility and I had a tour and I took some pictures. And then what I did, we did a 3-day workshop at the college with them on shaper training. And at the end of the training, I made a little slideshow of the tour, the images.
Yeah.
And bingo, the light went on right there for them. They laughed like heck, when they realized the stupid things they were doing, junk setting on top of their shapers, I mean, our facility is kept pretty clean and it's not an everyday production. So, the needs are a little different, but I really run it a tight ship. And so, they got into the facility, they used it, they learned the concepts, and then they realized, when suddenly the reality is, oh, what are we doing? Somebody sets a water bottle on a machine, and you've got a rust ring, and, it's like, I wouldn't tolerate that, in our lab. So,
well,
I think,
Patrick, how do I give that feedback? Have you ever had a student or somebody on faculty who wasn't taking feedback well? How do you, as an educator,
feedback is always a challenge, but I tell students feedback is a rare gift. How you deliver it is a challenge, and sometimes people are more sensitive. I think it's always better to do by example than, I always say praise in public, and if you have an issue with somebody, pull them aside and explain that. Clear and effective communication is critical. And then when I give feedback, it's the sandwich method, right?
Of course.
I learned this early on, right?
Yeah.
So first, here's what you're doing good. And then in the middle, you got the meat, this is what's not good. And then, by the way, this is what else you did good, right? So sandwich your feedback, because natural, human tendency is that they're going to step back and, anytime there's something negative said, and then it gets harder.
Yeah. There are so many times that I encounter personality clashes between the owner and a key employee. And maybe I just hear about it more, but often that employee is a key employee, like a very important person who they really can't afford to lose, or they think they can't afford to lose. And they really don't want to offend them by saying, that's not my standard for how I want things built. I don't want there to be glue dried on the back of this vanity before it goes out. That's my name. I don't want that on my name. And people take that personally by saying, well, it was easier to put together and then finish and, the glue over, but that's on the wall. They're never going to see it. That's a hidden corner. No, there's glue on that.
I mean, you're a parent, I'm a parent, and you have to set your expectations, and there's some things you don't sacrifice. And I'm sorry, in this world of worrying about offending people, when it comes to building product, there are clear defined standards. And again, Architectural Woodwork Institute has done a great job defining what those standards are. These are the expectations, and that's what I teach to my students. This is the expectation that we're holding you to. And, if you didn't get four out of 4, I'm sorry, but the reality is
it's not 4 out of 4.
It's not 4 out of 4. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That was a little side convo, but I think it's important because I hear it enough in the field, and I know people are struggling with giving feedback to their team. And there's a lot to be said for non-emotional, factual feedback. Rick Patak is one of the best I've ever seen. And he's a career foreman and trainer. Like he's very factual. It's just the facts. He's not talking about you. He's talking about the work, and I think we all need to learn and listen to educators like yourself on how to do that, because
the challenge in our industry is there's a lot of opinions. And being able to back that up with a factual basis or an accepted standard. I'll give an example going back to when I ran my own business, and I had to install some subfloor, and the tile setter said, you need to put more screws in there. And I said, well, I've put the, recommended amount of screws. No, you need more screws. He says, that's my warranty. You got to have more screws. So I said, okay, well, we'll go talk to the expediter. I said, this is going to be my bill if you want more screws. And see what the expediter says. And the expediter, and long story short, the tile setter ended up putting the screws in because I did it to APA standards at that point. and I had that in my back pocket. I had that knowledge. And that's why I tell my students why standards are so important and that you understand them, because they'll save your bacon. Otherwise I would have spent 2 hours putting more screws because this tile setter felt like he needed more screws.
Right. Plus materials, plus time to go get if you had to go get those materials.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's, I know the math varies company by company, but one person in one van for 1 hour is about $600 out the door.
Wow. Yeah.
It's just again, to your point about waste.
And that's another thing. I'm going a little bit on a tangent here, but I'll say, one things I try to do is educate my students, because they see, well, gee, that employer's paying me $18, $20 an hour, but they're charging this labor rate. How can they do that? And it's like, well, you have to understand, a little bit, about what goes into a business and, all the other benefits and, expenses and equipment and everything else. So I make them calculate a shop rate.
Oh, you do?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm so glad you do that.
Yes. Yeah. It's an eye opener, because, they don't think of things like, hey, what about your retirement fund? What about healthcare? What about, all these expenses,
Yeah. Like, do you talk to them about something called burden rate, which is if I'm paying you $20 an hour, the employer is actually paying another X percent over that?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. That's an eye opener for people. They're like, what's a burden rate?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We've got this book out. It's a new version of a book. How do we make the most of it now that it's out there as an educational piece? What should be happening to it, and where do we go to find it?
Well, first of all, you go to the publisher to find it. So if you you can buy it online, but the publisher actually prefers buying it direct. It's Goodhart Wilcox out of Chicago. So if you search Modern Cabinetmaking, it should come up in the search. So you can purchase direct. Make sure you get the 6th edition, because that's the newest edition. But the reason I say that, because if you're a company and you want to train your workforce, I highly encourage you to join the Woodwork Career Alliance, woodworkcareer.org. They have an industry membership. It's $250 a year, and that will open you up to the curriculum that I have donated to them. So that's going to be your learning plan step by step. Starts out always read these pages of Modern Cabinetmaking 6th edition. Yeah. And then next step might be some videos to watch. Might be a worksheet or, something to read, and then some tasks. Do this task, and then finally, build whatever exercise.
Right. Okay.
So that, $250, maybe to some people sounds like a lot. It's nothing. The amount of hours that are into developing this material is incredible. And so that, as a business owner, you don't have time for that.
No.
So, again, as we said, don't reinvent the wheel. And the neat thing, what I like about the WCA is they have set up a system where you can pick and choose. What do you want to do? Because there's so many different companies out there, right? And so, you can structure a training program, and Scott Nelson, the president of WCA, will work with the companies to structure and build a training program.
Oh, inside the curriculum that you guys have already built.
He's got a matrix, and he'll say, okay, you want to do these machines, and these are, where we can award your employees when they get so many points, and it's a well thought out system.
I'll tell you, the value of employee recognition and getting a certificate or some achievement level for operating a piece of equipment or building something,
huge.
I believe it gets overlooked a lot, even by me, I have to admit.
Yeah.
But people like to go home and say, hey, look what I got. I got this certificate.
Yep.
And, in a lot of cases, they may not have had other certificates in their life.
Yeah.
Like this, if they start to see this is the place where they start to excel, they're going to want more of that. And that's
positive recognition. It's,
yeah.
That's
a good point. I always forget about that. I have to admit.
Important to remember. Yep.
Patrick, if somebody wants to find you in this big wide world, what do we do? How do we find you?
Well, I'm faculty at Madison College. So, my name and Madison College will, come up with a web search. Obviously, I'm the author of Modern Cabinetmaking. And once again, I'll hold it up and try not to get the light in there. And I'm the primary author now. So this was quite an honor after all these years that they put me first in line. So Goodhart Wilcox is the publisher. And so, and I'm sure, you'll leave my contact information or feel
Oh, yeah.
free to email in the show notes.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll all be there. Well, Patrick, thank you. I think it's been about a year since you were on last.
Yes.
So hopefully we have you on again in the future. But
Thank
take a
you.
break. Don't edit the book. Let it settle for a little while.
The publisher's on a 7-year cycle, so I'm
there
going to
you
be a
go.
lot grayer when that next 7 years comes
Hey,
about.
listen, the best you and I could hope for is that we both have hair to be gray in 7 years. It could be,
Yeah, well,
it could be a lot shinier.
I will. My dad has passed, but he lived to 88 and he had as much as I did. So I got his genes, but it definitely is getting grayer by the day. So nothing we can do to avoid that.
No, take it as a sign of pride.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Patrick, for being on the show. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
You're welcome. Good to talk to you.
Bye-bye.